works, but
Right.
Margaret's going to be
Sure
at timer anyway.
yeah.
Okay, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to our town board meeting. It's great to have a full house. I think we will begin the meeting with a salute to the flag, and I would like our 4 students, would you please lead us in the pledge? Bet you weren't expecting that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The meeting tonight, I have the great joy of dedicating it to the Haunted Fortress crew in its entirety. I'm not sure I have words to describe the miracle that's happened this past year. And it started 2.5 years ago when we finally tore down the old highway garage, hit a lot of snags. This year, Greg Arendt and astonishing crew of kids and grown-ups put their heart and soul and muscle and hours and time into recreating what really was the Phoenix. I mean, it really was dead. And the transformation is just breathtaking. And I had the pleasure of going through the other night, and there is a guide that takes you through. And I didn't know that Greg was my guide because he was covered in a sheet.
That's how good he is.
Right. You know, but he was walking, he was stumping ahead of us, and I scream a lot. I mean, I'm easily startled. I don't scream a lot, but I scream a lot. And so I'm walking through it with my husband, and I'm easily startled, so I'm screaming a lot. But while I'm going through the process, I'm also doing this nonstop patter about, this is so amazing, you should have seen it a year ago, you should have seen it 2 years ago, oh my God, look at this, it was falling down, it was a wreck, and and I'm just going on for the entire, when I'm not screaming, I'm talking, which is typical for me anyway. But in any case, it was an astonishing experience. They had, I believe, the highest grossing, if not the highest grossing, very close to the highest grossing first weekend ever in the history of Stanford. So the word did get out, and all of us are in awe of the work that all of you have done. So I would like to dedicate this meeting to, first, these are the committee members for the Haunted Fortress: Greg Arendt, Holly Travis, Kevin Travis, Esther Evans, Teddy Secor, Sasha Secor, and Mike Denatali. And then volunteers who helped over multiple days and many, many, many hours: Randy Kilmer, Christine Salazzo, I knew that, Logan Chapman, Brooke Chapman, Cameron Woods, Gianna Roble, there's an L missing here, Joe Heggenstaller, Max Heggenstaller, Claudia DeBellis, who did the most amazing makeup and scary faces, just stunning. And others that helped.
And the hard work that she did.
And the hard work she did, including the painting, the artwork, yes. No, and we're going to there's very scary paintings that were Peter Wing paintings, and they had really deteriorated, and she literally repainted these stained glass paintings that he'd done. Oh boy, he was getting off to a good start, that he did. And they're exquisite. And I also want to thank Jim Myers, Lauren Osterman, and the highway crew, because the amount of work that those people did behind the scenes without any glory and without, was off the scale. So we wholeheartedly offer our congratulations and our thanks. So now, Rita, the roll call, please.
Wendy Burton.
Yes.
Ann Arendt.
Yes.
Margaret Fallon.
Yes.
Nathan LaGricia.
Yes.
Frank Pepe.
Yes.
I would like to call on the town board for the liaison reports. Margaret, why don't we start with you?
Yes, I'm not prepared, but
Do you want Frank's to start?
yes, please.
Okay,
Well, I
Frank, why
apologize.
don't we start with you?
The Dutchess County Commission on Human Rights is celebrating Hispanic History Month along with the state. In addition to that, The Human Rights Commission is preparing to celebrate on December 10th the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. ZBA, I was at the meeting last night.
Frank, before you do that ZBA, sorry, do you want me, last month's ZBA happened after our board meeting. Do you want me to cover that before he does this month's ZBA?
Sure.
Okay, sorry for cutting you off, but I thought it would make more sense. So the September ZBA, 2 people applied for variances, so they would have come back this month for the public hearing. They discussed the local law review for changing the private road regulations. That was a big topic of discussion, again, that was continued this month. And a member of the community came to discuss a zoning law that was affecting him. So.
And last night, at 2, the public session was canceled for a variety of reasons by the applicant, and there was continued discussion of the local law change, as was described in Mrs. Ziyer's email to Wendy and the board today. And specifically, they did agree to and support the brief language change that Bob had brought to us earlier. They reiterated their concern, their desire that that new law be approved in coordination with the comprehensive plan.
I'm going to read her. I have her.
Okay, great. And the planning board, I missed the meeting because we were with another meeting that night here. I'll report on that from the minutes next month.
Thank you, Frank. Margaret, are you ready?
I'm ready, sorry. Yes, so the CAC is planning a late fall event, collaborating with the DLC again. It will probably focus on riparian restoration at the Stanford Wildlife Preserve, and they will post details on social media, and they'll advertise it in other ways as well.
Great. There's a chair we can bring back, and there's also chairs just in the next room, if you'd like. They're just one room down, not the bathroom, but past that. Okay? Okay, so Ann, you gave your report. Nathan?
Yeah, so last night we met, and there was an arborist that came in, talked about some of the oak trees and the spongy bomb problem.
This is at the rec met last night.
Yeah. So it was introductory conversation, so it's going to be an ongoing conversation. Just to reiterate, yes, the Haunted Fortress had a really great weekend. Over 350 visitors, and a sizable sum of money. But I will also underscore they're still looking for volunteers.
Yes.
Food and snacks. And I'm paraphrasing here because I can't use the language, but they are going to kick butt for the rest of the month. That was
Sasha said.
And they're looking for ways to do non-cash payments next year, because that's come up quite a bit for some visitors.
Okay.
The trunk or treat is happening at the end of the month on the 28th. They're also looking for some volunteers for pumpkin painting for that, and Big Rock is going to be donating the pumpkins.
Great.
For this year.
And do they have enough people signed up with car trunks? Are they still looking for trunk closets?
That did not come up, so I'm guessing that's not an issue. It's just they need some for the painting of the pumpkin.
Pumpkin painting. Okay.
And then there were some other topics. Some that I don't need to go into detail, but Lauren and the rest of the commission are working on some winter programming at Cold Spring, and then also potentially some holiday events.
Great.
If people want to volunteer, is the Facebook page the best place to go to get more information?
There's the Facebook page, so there is a volunteer Facebook. He doesn't need to tell me, I know.
No, he went like this.
So there's a Facebook page for the Fortress. There's also one that's specific to volunteers. You can also go to the town website, and the information is also there.
And you can just show up, right? If you want to be an actor, can you just show up at 5:15?
5:30, show up.
Bring a pizza.
Bring a pizza and a witch's hat. Great,
We'll
thank you.
throw costume on you, we'll throw makeup on you, or you in the scenes.
Excellent. And there can be non-speaking parts. Supervisor's report and financials. One thing we have noticed is that we're seeing a pattern of dated infrastructure requirements that require replacement on account of material fatigue or technology that's no longer supported here in the building. An example of the former is our leaking boiler. An example of the latter is the brain or the functions of our telephone system. The central processing unit of our telephone system is no longer, what's the word? Supported. So if it dies, we're kind of in a bad place. So the telephone system provider, Superior Telephone, recommends the replacement of the CPU because the one we have is no longer supported by the manufacturer. Just as with the boiler, multiple approaches are possible. So in addition to looking at straight-up replacements, we're looking at alternative technology. And as far as the phone system goes, we're looking at internet cloud technology. So this actually is a great time to be dealing with expiring equipment. For many, if it's not most of these needs, we are able to use the American Rescue Plan funds to position ourselves and succeeding administrations for the coming decades, and that means the taxpayers won't be paying for these improvements. We have sent out the RFI for the boiler replacement and other solutions besides just getting, we don't want an oil burning boiler. We'd like to have a propane boiler, but we're also investigating other systems, heat pumps, and what are those split units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I'm not an expert, but that, when listening to the options, that sounded like a really great one to me. And again, I just wanted to reiterate, and I don't need to, the Haunted Fortress just is a mind blow. You all received, or the board received, a copy of my monthly bank reconciliation and supervisor's report. The state of the union is good. My financial forecast for the end of September. For revenues, they continue to be in excellent shape. The mortgage tax will be up over $60,000, and that doesn't include what we'll accrue for the October to December period. That check arrives in March, so we have to accrue for it. We lowered our expectations in the 2022 budget on mortgage tax on the council of the county clerk, because the trend was that less people were buying and mortgages were going to go down, but as usual, Stanford took the opposite track, and we have a very healthy trend this year, and it's very challenging to figure out for the budget, where the trend's going to be for 2023. Fines from the court are already $25,000 above budget. And again, we'd lowered that due to problems that the court was facing in 2021 that were pretty severe. They're kicking it now, and they're always reported in the month following the closing of our books. So an additional $45,000 came in for the month of September, which are not reflected in our own reports. So they really are kicking, well, they're bringing in a lot of funds. The CHIPS fund, which are state funds that come into the highway department, should come in at or above the budgeted $250,000. And then as far as appropriations, you'll see later tonight, we'll be making a lot of line adjustments so that our budget lines are balanced. So basically, we're really in good shape financially. That's my report. So I would now, hello, what? Did somebody just whistle at me? Or am I now hearing?
It was somebody's phone.
I'd now like to open the privilege of the floor, which is the time when you get to introduce yourself, give your address to Rita Mary, and then speak to us about any concerns you may have. We ask that you limit your talking to 2 minutes, and remind you that there's a second privilege of the floor at the end of the meeting. So if you haven't said everything you want to say, or if something that comes up during the meeting moves you to speak, there is a second time to do that. So would anybody like to? Yes, man in the front row.
Sorry, I just want to, I know there's a lot of other things to talk about, and I just want to get this
Notes?
over now.
Oh, you want to get it over?
In any event, all right, I know,
Your name and your address.
I'm sorry, my name is Anthony Sarnicola, 25 Huns Lake Road. I would just like to take a couple of minutes to talk about proposals on the ballot in the November election. I'm just going to read this real quick so that we can get through it in 2 minutes. All right, so I'm sure that everyone's had the experience of walking into a voting booth on election day and then flipped over the ballot and found that there are proposals on the other side. You have no idea what those proposals are or how to vote on them. I'm going to talk about, there are 3 proposals on the ballot come November 8th. I'm only going to talk about one of them tonight, and that's Prop 2, the cannabis dispensary referendum. So what is that proposal? As it is written on the ballot, verbatim, it says, shall local law number 2 of 2021, adopted by the town board of the state of the town of Stanford, Dutchess County, New York, at a meeting held on the 28th of October 2021, opting out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries within the town of Stanford pursuant to section 131 of the New York State Cannabis Law and section 24 of the New York Municipal Law Home be approved. Makes perfect sense, right? Doesn't at all. So what this law is actually, what this proposal is actually saying is basically asking if we should keep the town prohibition law that is rejecting any possibility of a cannabis retail store in this town at any time in the future. It does not mean that the day after election day, if it is passed, that we're going to have a retail store in the town. So if you are in favor of a cannabis retail store in this town, vote no. If you are against it, vote yes. It's counterintuitive, so keep that in mind. Now, how will residents know that this proposal is on the ballot? Frankly, it is your responsibility, it is your civic duty to know what is on the ballot. However, there is a small group of us who have taken it upon ourselves to send a postcard out to every single registered voter in this town so that you know that this referendum is on the ballot. Full disclosure, this is coming from people who want this dispensary, they want this retail store in the town. It is very obvious from the card. However,
Anthony?
am I up? Am I up? All right, I'm done. All right, so that's it. That's really all I have
You
to
can
say.
speak again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But basically what you were saying is a vote no is actually a vote yes.
Yes, exactly the opposite of what we teach young people. No means yes, and yes means no.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that looks like Charles Hanlon. Would you like to come up and speak?
Can I hear, speak from here? I haven't had a problem being heard.
No, but we want you on the video.
Oh.
Like a mugshot.
I didn't do it. I was informed this weekend, and I just wanted to inform the
Can I
board.
have your name and address, please?
Charlie.
Yes, it's Charles Hamlin, 422 Hobbs Lane.
I wrote it down already.
That doesn't count toward my time.
No, that doesn't count for your time, no.
I was informed this weekend of the death of Christine Shanley, and I wanted to inform the board. Christine had been the secretary to our previous supervisor, and she was always very helpful when I was collecting taxes, and I just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Thank you, Charlie.
Could we have a moment of silence?
Yeah, I had asked Joe if he wanted to come and make a presentation, and I said that we would have a moment of silence after that. So Chris did work here for many years. Her passing was sudden, and so I would like to take a moment, and thank you, Charles, of silence to honor her. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. So privilege of the floor. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Okay, then, I would make a motion to close the, why don't you have to make a motion? I will just close the privilege of the floor, but remember, there will be another one at the end of the meeting. I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda, but first I'll ask if anyone has anything to add to the agenda.
Just a broad question. Being at the ZBA last night, our friends on the ZBA commission expressed, as I mentioned earlier, some concern about this law being approved prior than the comprehensive plan. And I wondered if that was something that is of greater concern. Is that something that's possible? Is this law from all the...
Why don't we just get to the, I mean, I think it's the first thing on the agenda.
I
So
thought that's what you were asking.
No,
No, I was asking if you had anything to add to the agenda.
I need to get my...
You
Can
do,
I sit
but-
next to you on the other side? Maybe that would help me.
No, so I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is to reintroduce the proposed local law number 2 of 2022, amending sections of Chapter 140 of the Town Code entitled Subdivision of Land with respect to private roads, homeowners associations, and conservation density subdivisions with changes. And then we will also set a public hearing date if we pass this resolution. Or, yeah, because this is a resolution for the proposed law.
Right, that's to introduce it.
So the only change in the law that we went through 2 meetings ago, I think, and we had a public hearing, there was discussion about this law. The only change that was made, I'm not going to reread the whole law, was in Section 8B, where language, I'll read B, a conservation density subdivision shall require a minimum lot area of 5 acres and a minimum average lot area of 25 acres. That's, yeah. All lots created within a conservation density subdivision shall be permanently restricted by a conservation easement from further subdivision and shall, by virtue of the expressed language of said easement, be restricted to the development of one principal single-family dwelling unit and, here's the change, permitted accessory buildings and structures per approved lot, including a guest cottage. What the language was before was accessory or auxiliary uses. And there's...
Permitted accessory uses.
Right, and there's a big difference between accessory uses, which could be light industrial, it could be non-residential and rural kinds of activities. So that language was changed to accessory buildings and structures, which keeps it like not exactly like a neighborhood, but it keeps it, what's the word I'm looking for?
Residential.
Residential.
Protected.
Protected. So that's the only change in the language. And at the public hearing, Kathy Zier, who is the head of the ZBA, had problems with the law. So Bob Butts, our town attorney, and Kathy met and discussed the law, and they basically settled on that change of language as Kathy's and representing the ZBA's problem with the law as it was written. So I had asked they had a ZBA meeting last night. I'd asked Kathy to follow up with the board afterwards. So this is what she said in her email this morning. Proposed amendments to subdivision law, local law number 1 of 2922, but it's really 2022. The town of Stanford ZBA reviewed and discussed the amendments to this law at our ZBA meeting 10/12/22 after receiving additional information on the changes from the town attorney, Mr. Butts. As a board, we agree with the proposed changes, but continue to have concerns with the modification timing as the new comprehensive plan is not completed. Any changes may not be compatible with the new plan. Also, amending one area of the subdivision law will impact many other laws and should be done as a comprehensive review. Catherine Zire. So, we should discuss this now. I will say I'm very happy that Bob and Kathy were able to work out the language so that basically the ZBA is happy with the law. I take her point about making a change in the zoning before the comprehensive plan is passed, and basically there's an entire next process that's going to happen, which will be the zoning commission's job to review all of our zoning, including this, as it will be part of the zoning code. But I would like to, with respect to their concerns and the separate issue of should it be being passed right now, I make a motion and I'm in favor of reintroducing this law and then moving forward with a public hearing.
I think Frank wanted to say.
Oh, well, I was just going to same topic, so thank you for reading Kathy's letter. Given the respect we have for our ZBA volunteers on the commission, I wondered, and in my review of what Bob has presented to us on this law, it seems to me that it's a wise law. It corrects problems in our ordinances. It even benefits the economy of our town and allows houses to be built, in very large lots. And I saw nothing that impeded future work. However, I wanted to give some respect to our zoning board members to ask again, and perhaps Bob is the key on this, is there any significant benefit to waiting for the comprehensive plan? And let me say, I know I'm speaking of mixed messages, because at the ZBA last night I mentioned personally, not for the board, that as issues come before us that can't wait, or that are important, I think that it would be wise for us to develop a more active system of receiving those concepts, those ideas, those problems in the ordinance, working with our ZBA and planning board on a more regular basis, so that we're not waiting to look at the zoning just once every so many years, but on an ongoing basis, because things come up that we notice, that we see are weak and so forth. So I know that that's contradictory to what I just said, and I'm sure they picked that out too. But Bob, is there any benefit to waiting a little longer with this law? Or I read nothing in the comprehensive plan that seemed to have any impact with it. Is that your view?
I wouldn't think there would be any benefit to waiting. If the board decides to adopt this, this doesn't preclude further review at a later date, and as part of the comprehensive review of the zoning and subdivision codes. In addition, as had been discussed at previous meetings, this issue came up, the issue with these amendments came up in the context of a current issue at the planning board, issues that were identified by the planning board as that ought to be resolved. So I think there's really a good reason to proceed at this time.
Thank you.
That's my belief, that this predates the reconstituted comprehensive plan review. It certainly predates when the town board took control of the comprehensive plan. And I agree with you that we want to be very respectful of the role of the ZBA, but the zoning board can reopen it at a future date too.
Excellent, thank you. I do think the positive coming out of the recent dialogue between the three parties, the board, the ZBA, and the planning board, is that dialogue can be very fruitful for all of us. as we go forward. Maybe we can find a way the board can help with that.
Stan, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you.
Wendy Bergen,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Fallon,
Yes.
Nathan LaVerture,
Yes.
Frank Pepe.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item, he wasn't an item, but the next person on the agenda was Fire Commissioner Dennis Smith, who is going to report on the 2023 Fire District budget. He was going to make a presentation to us. That's not happening tonight, so what I'm going to do is simply announce that the public hearing on their preliminary 2023 budget is being held on October 18th, which is a Tuesday, I think?
Yeah, 'cause it's the same day as the.
That's right, at 7 o'clock at the firehouse, and the fire district would very much like the public to attend and hear what's happening with the district. So that's the message. The next item on the agenda is basically continued discussion on the logging issue that has come before the town and the board with a logging permit that actually has been, the first pass at it has been denied because it was incomplete, but this is logging activity that would be happening on Hobbs Lane and Prospect Hill Road. And I would like to give an update because there's been activity since last month's meeting. In no particular order, we have received a lot of letters from the residents of Hobbs Lane expressing their various concerns about the impact that logging of the property on Hobbs Lane would have on their neighborhood, on individual homes, on the watershed there, conservation issues, soil erosion issues. We got a lot of feedback from the neighbors, from the people who would be directly impacted by the logging. I went ahead and I contacted the owner of the property, and we had a very long conversation on the phone. My instinct and what I would like to try to do is basically have a meeting between the people who want to log the property, as in the owner, and the forester, who is the person who actually goes through and marks the trees and sets the boundaries. The undergrowth, the understory in that area is suffering from lack of sunlight. The property hasn't been logged in a very long time. It actually, I think, for the health of the forest, needs to be logged. So how do you reconcile the rights of the property owner with the desires of the people who live there? So my hope is that there can be some back and forth. The owner of the property has basically designated the forester to meet with us. I met with the group of the citizens, was it only yesterday? Last night. And we were going to tour a lot of the property, but we never got out of off the front lawn of Corey and Nikki. But we had very lively discussion, and we discussed this map, which was part of the application process. I found it very hard to decipher like exactly what were boundary lines and exactly where logging was going to be happening. It's clearer to me now where the streams are, where there's a woodland pond, where there actually would be stream crossings. What I wanted to do, and I think we still will do, but we'll be doing this with the forester, is to walk the intended logging area and discuss with the neighbors what their concerns are and see if any of the issues can be ameliorated. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Ooh, yes. One very large issue had to do with the access road on the east side of Hobbs Lane, which literally is directly in front of one of the family's houses who have 2 small children. It's on pretty much a blind curve, and the school bus meets there. So it seems that it's not a really good place for an access road. The owner has a problem because it's one of the only flat areas of access, and after that, the property becomes steeper and steeper, so putting in a road becomes more and more expensive, because it would have to go like this. So I actually believe there may be a way to work with Jim Myers and with the forester and literally move the access road, not good with feet, but 100 feet, what did we say, 50 feet? Whatever it is, there was a place to put it that looked like it was equally flat, but that it wouldn't be in a bus stop and it wouldn't be directly across the street from where 2 small children live. So those are so that's the action I have taken. I hope to speak to the forester tomorrow and set up a time where he comes down and spends as much time as we need to walk all the properties and see what can be addressed, what can be changed to suit everybody's needs, meaning the trees need to come down. The owner has the absolute right to take those trees down. Could they maybe be different trees? I mean, all of those things that, to my mind, are what we should be talking about. The larger issue of our tree harvesting ordinance, I think has to be addressed separately. I think it's a huge issue, and I think it's something that's going to need a lot of talk and consideration, and definitely involvement with the ZBA and the planning board and experts. We have a good model to start with the Pine Plains timber harvesting ordinance, but it's not like, anyway, that's my report on the progress I feel like we've made since the last meeting. Yes, Frank?
I would just request that we come back to this issue after the executive session, please.
You mean during the executive session?
During and then after also.
Okay. Oh, is that something we're allowed to talk about in the executive session?
I don't know that it would be
The topic
within the list of...
litigation.
Well, there is no litigation.
Well, as we saw in that list, it's proposed litigation.
But
Well, I think
I think it would be if we were proposing litigation.
I am.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, if it's a litigation matter, it's proper subject then.
Okay. Okay, the next item on, so I mean, do you guys have any questions for me?
Oh, the meeting went well, thank you.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I was just, they're not for you.
Okay, whoa, okay.
No, that's the thing, is that they're not directed towards you, so I'd be asking questions that you would have to go on financials for, so
Okay.
I'm not gonna get the answers by asking the questions.
Okay.
I guess I would also say that I have legal questions about how a moratorium would work, but I've just started reading, so I might be emailing you with some specific legal questions.
Well, I think it would be a good time if we wanted him to, if Bob wants.
No, I'm not sure what the questions are yet. That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. I just started.
Got
I
it.
spent some time on the New York State
Right.
code. Yes, so
Okay.
I'm formulating my question.
All right, good, and we shall move on. Attached, these are the highway bids for 2023. We got a letter or a note from James Meyer, Highway Superintendent. Attached, you will find the lowest apparent bidders of the highway materials for 2023. These include things such as crushed stone and stone aggregate, gravel, cold mix. I recommend that the town accepts all bids and award to the lowest apparent bidder and reserve the right to utilize the next lowest bidders in cases the awarded low bidder cannot meet quality or quantity requirements on the materials bid. So I make a motion to accept the materials bid for 2023.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me.
The Kennel contract is the next item on the agenda. We have had an agreement with a very long time, I believe, with the Pine Plains Veterinary. When our animal, what's his title?
Dog control officer.
When our dog control officer picks up a dog, he takes it to the Pine Plains Veterinary people. And they shelter the dog they shelter the dog. And for that, we pay them, the amount hasn't changed. I think it's $25, and it's been that for a long time. And then Rita, if the dog owner comes and picks up the dog,
The owner of that dog pays that fee.
if the dog gets adopted,
We pay the fee.
And if the dog, God forbid, gets euthanized, we pay the fee.
Correct.
So, with that, so I just wanted to say, coincidentally, today I received a letter from the New York State Agricultural and Markets Division with a shelter report for Pine Plains Veterinary Association, and it was, everything was a yes, there were no negatives. Yeah, they got an A+.
Don't forget to give me that report, okay?
You can have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2023 kennel contract with Pine Plains Veterinary Service.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Frank is absent.
Frank is absent.
Frank's absent.
Oh, that's right. Oh, thank you. I didn't think I'd get it that quick. Thanks a bunch.
Is it 8 o'clock yet?
No, I was keeping track.
Okay. Item 6 is Resolution A, the CPL invoice. CPL is an architectural engineering firm that we hired to do a structural engineering study of all of the town buildings. And we, as a board, were underwhelmed with the report that came back to us. It was very short. I think it came finally because I asked so many times where it was, because it was late. And so it still came attached with a bill of almost $15,000. So I contacted them, and I said I really felt that we had not received $15,000 worth of report, that we were very unhappy with the results, and they came back, and I asked if we would be willing to pay 50% of the bill, and they agreed to that. So basically, the Resolution 10A of 2022 is to rescind the first resolution that we passed, which was for $14,900. To rescind Resolution 5G, as the town board has determined they will accept the abbreviated report from Clark Patterson Lee for the structural evaluation report. To transfer funds from the American Rescue Funds account, New York class, ending in 009, and move the funds to the general fund. So basically, we had transferred money from the American Rescue Fund in the amount of $14,900 to the general fund so we could pay for the report. And now we need to pass a resolution basically to return $7,450 back to the American Rescue Fund because that's the amount we're willing to pay. So I make a resolution.
Comment?
First let me make the motion and then let's get the comment. I just make a motion to pass Resolution 10A. Second. Yes?
I just want to basically underscore everything you said around it being brief and kind of underwhelming, but the information that was in there we did deem useful.
Yes.
So it wasn't, again, I
Yes.
just want to make sure that folks understand that there was some value, and that's why we asked for not a zero amount.
Right, no, and that's a really good
So, I just
point.
wanna make that
And
clear.
we plan on utilizing the
Right.
information that we did get to move forward and make some corrections, or have some work done. So, yes, absolutely.
Additional comment and discussion. Thank you, Wendy. That's, you did a marvelous job of negotiating this, and I think it does now represent good work that we will follow up on, so thank you.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes?
Okay, so the way municipal government works is we have money that we get to spend. It's called the general fund, and it's for basically most everything that we spend money on in the town, except for the highway department. And they have a separate fund, and it's called the highway fund. And they're separate, and they don't commingle, basically. So, in addition to the highway fund, we set up what's called a reserve fund, and it's a reserve fund for highway vehicle purchases. And we kind of like to squirrel away money in that fund so that when the highway needs to buy equipment, which is never inexpensive, we have money reserved for that purpose. So that's the highway reserve fund. So,
One slight, it's vehicles and accessory.
yes,
So
vehicles.
it's not just limited to the vehicles.
But the name of the fund, yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, I get
Yeah.
it. Just
So, I'm trying to make this a teaching moment, so yes.
just trying to help.
You are. I thank you. So Resolution 10B of 2022 to approve the purchase of a sand and salt spreader for the 2021 International CV 515 that was purchased and for the highway, from the Highway Vehicle Reserve Fund, ending in 002. Whereas the town board of the town of Stanford has established the Highway Vehicle Reserve Fund in order to purchase vehicles and accessory equipment for the highway department to conduct its work, and whereas the Highway Vehicle Reserve Fund currently has a balance of approximately $195,407.39, that's funny, that's approximate. And whereas the town of Stanford will purchase a salt and sand spreader for the 2021 as per state bid for the 2021 International CV 515 from T&T Sales, Inc. for the amount of $7,594. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor of the town of Stanford is authorized to pay for the salt and sand spreader for the 2021 out of the 2021 vehicle, out of the Highway Vehicle Reserve Fund, ending in 002.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes?
Okay. Resolution 10C, the placement of the radar speed signs. Okay, this one is a doozy. We already decided we were buying 2 radar speed signs for the town because people come racing through Route 82 at utterly unacceptable and frightening speeds. And although the town has tried at various times to get the state to lower the speed limit on Route 82 through our town center, they have repeatedly refused to do it. So we purchased 2 speed radar machines, and they don't track radar, like they're not the kind of machines that would also issue a ticket. They just say, you're going this fast, so slow the heck down, or something to that effect. We then discovered, or we simultaneously discovered, that if we are going to put these machines on a state road such as 82, we need permission from the state to use the right-of-way, which they own. So we would need the same thing when we put them on county roads. The only place we have our own discretion, and we bought them on trailers so we could move them, would be on town roads, and then we can just put them where we want. So this resolution is a resolution of support for placement of radar speed and advisory signs on New York State Route 82. At a meeting of the town board of the town of Stanford held at the town hall on the 13th day of October at 7 o'clock, Town Supervisor Wendy Burton called the meeting to order, and she, seconded by councilperson Margaret Fallon, moved the following resolution supporting an application to place radar speed advisory signs on New York State's right-of-way adjacent to Route 82 in Stanfordville. Whereas the town of Stanford residents have voiced concern about automobiles speeding on New York Route 82 in Stanford to both the current town administration and the previous town administrations, and whereas both the current town administration and the preceding town administrations have requested New York State to lower the speed limit on Route 82 in Stanford, and whereas such requests have proved unavailing, and whereas placement of a speed advisory sign on Route 82 in May 2022 demonstrably slowed traffic on Route 82, and I literally sat and watched traffic slow down, whereas the town board has voted to purchase 2 trailer-mounted radar speed advisory signs for placement on New York State right-of-way adjacent Route 82 north in Stanford, You want to put one north and one south. Whereas such placement requires application to New York State for approval, and whereas such application requires a town board resolution which indicates public support for the town's intended use of the speed advisory signs. And whereas the placement of trailer-mounted radar advisory signs along highways within the town is a Type 2 action under 6 New York CRR and is not subject to environmental review under seeker, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby determines to proceed with the placement of trailer-mounted speed advisory signs on Route 82 and other locations within the town, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute any such documents and take any such lawful actions as she may deem convenient, necessary, or advisable in order to effectuate the foregoing resolution and referenced application.
Second.
You did, yes, thank you.
Comment.
Comment?
Question.
Question.
No
Do
question.
we know, so once an application is submitted and it is approved, is there a term with that approval?
You mean how long we can leave them there?
Well,
You're saying just the approval lasts for 1 year?
Yeah.
correct. Like, we may not leave it there for that period, but we may store it or put it on a town road.
Right.
But what is the approval period for, do we know?
We
are unaware of any term.
Okay. Okay. And.
And plus, we will be moving it, I mean.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but in any movement
But we could move
that
it
is-
back within the term if there was a term.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure
I
out
think
if
once we
we're gonna,
get,
if we would have to revisit this, because we know that we're gonna be doing these again, because we're gonna, hopefully, assuming it gets passed, we will also wanna apply for other locations.
Correct.
So I'm just wondering if, just for convenience,
Right.
you're gonna line them up, if like this has to be renewed every year or something like that, and we can.
We don't believe it does.
Okay.
But we do know if we decide we want to put it on some other
Yeah, we're gonna have to do
section of
another
road,
application.
we'll have to,
Yep,
yeah.
Yep, I'm aware.
Okay.
Cool.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan Virtue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 10D. This has to do with the purchase of a bench that will be, no, this doesn't.
No, this
Hold
is
on.
just the tree
This is
This
the
is the
tree.
different.
Trees.
The bench is coming.
Different, the
Bench is
bench is
coming.
actually in the hall. But, okay, so the CAC, which is our Conservation Advisory Commission, and does all things environmental for us, and advises us on environmental issues. It's a great commission. They did a program with the Dutchess Land Conservancy, where the Dutchess Land Conservancy actually provided trees, and then the CAC and volunteers worked with the Dutchess Land Conservancy people and planted trees at Whitlock Preserve, which is a preserve that the town of Stanford owns that was deeded to us. And when it was deeded to us, back in whenever it was deeded to us, it came with funds of, I think, $35,000.
Yes, but this is to pay for the trees. The DLC did not pay for the trees.
No, this is to pay for the trees
Oh,
out of
okay. Right.
the Whitlock account. Okay, is that, okay. So, Resolution 10D, to transfer funds from the Whitlock Estate account, New York class ending in 007, and move the funds to the general fund ending in 018. Whereas the town of Stanford CAC committee planted saplings in the Whitlock Preserve, whereas the New York class account ending in 007, Whitlock estate account, contains funds for this purpose. Whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from the class account to the general fund account. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modifications and transfer the funds from the Whitlock estate account to the general fund. And the funds amount to $285.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay.
Wendy Burton?
Yes?
Ann Arndt?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon? Yes. Nathan Virtue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 10E to approve expenditures for the special prosecutor. Whereas the town of Stanford Court has generated, this is an unusual action for us to take. It's not just the general moving around of funds from line to line within our appropriations budget. In this case, what we're doing is using excess revenue that the court has brought in and making an adjustment to our budget to help pay for the special prosecutor who has worked many more hours than has ever happened before, basically. The court's bringing in funds hand over fist, but there's work that has to happen in order for that to happen. So this is a different kind of fund transfer to approve expenditures for the special prosecutor, whereas the town of Stanford Court has generated revenue in excess of the original budgeted projection in an effort to clear a backlog of cases created due to COVID-19, whereas the town of Stanford Court special prosecutor line has a deficit created by the enormous workload to clear the backlog of cases. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board needs to modify the general fund budget. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to make the following budget amendments. And what we're doing is taking $25,000 out of the revenue line and moving it to the appropriations line for the special prosecutor. Are there any questions?
No.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Excuse me. Ann Arndt?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon? Nathan Virtue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes.
I wish we had more exciting things to be doing for you, but
Well, I was going to say, since it is 8 o'clock.
it's
we
8
can
o'clock.
take a-
Class can be dismissed if you
Yes.
would like, and we will sign your sheets. And if you're really glued to your seats, we'll sign them anyway, so you can leave when you want to. But we're happy to sign them now in case you want to make a quick exit.
High school student.
High school students,
Yeah.
not the rest of you.
Yeah, the rest
I mean, we'll sign if you want to, but this is right on there.
They're obviously having too much fun.
Longer and then where to go. You get the side?
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's the offer, so come and get it.
You're lucky.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Actually, any of this can sign for them.
That's true.
Signature and title.
You didn't fill in your thing.
Huh?
Yeah, so put Stanford Town Board.
Smaller, honestly.
Well, this is a big, there's some issues that are really pressing on residents, and the logging one is a really big one. So this is a robust turnout for us, and it's great. And we just, we have to follow Robert's rules of order. I mean, all these whereases make me crazy, and they think they can be cheap, but it's just like municipal government, it is what it is. But what I love the fact that you're here, and what I've really tried to do is explain what we're doing, so it's not just,
I didn't catch that.
Mark, I knew it was the lobbyist. I was like,
Yes, Jane just said that.
And I give sort of an overview.
Oh, my pleasure.
No.
So today we're the veterans.
All in favor?
Why don't we do it
And we do, you know, we do a motion and a
Nice
second.
I don't know, wherever, just now?
And then
So we don't forget again?
Now, pretty much.
Wendy,
You know, I started reading through each
on
thing.
the local law number 2, we've got to set the date for the public hearing.
Okay, we can do that. Okay, I think we should get started again. Woo, sorry. I scared myself. That was the way I was at the Haunted Fortress. I was reminded by our council that I forgot to set a date for the public hearing on local law number 2. So, let's see, where are we in time and space?
The 13th.
We're up to number 11.
No, I'm going back to set a public hearing date.
Okay.
Um,
We can throw that in wherever you want.
Can we do it at a workshop or a regular meeting?
Yes, because we can call the workshop a special meeting.
I don't want to do it on the budget workshop day, because we have already cut ourselves short on that now. Oy vey. Then we have
Are you
another-
looking at November or October?
Yeah, I would, I mean,
November?
yeah, I feel like if we do it as part of the November board
The
meeting.
7th?
Right, and then we...
Well,
The
okay.
7th or the actual meeting?
Why don't we do
Actual
it at the actual meeting in November, and then we can vote on it?
Okay.
And
So
once we're all
Thursday,
through.
the 10th?
Yeah, well, I mean, my hope is that we have a public hearing and then we can vote on it.
Thursday, the 10th is also a budget discussion.
No, this is November 11th.
November 10th.
November 10th.
November 10th is
It's a
also.
regular board meeting.
It could
It's a
also,
board member.
It's just a board meeting.
Oh, I know.
So
it
we're
is.
adding the,
when is the public hearing for the budget?
Public hearing for the budget.
And we have a tentative public hearing for the comprehensive plan on the 15th.
The backup date is the 15th of November.
I have tentative public hearing on the 15th of November.
For the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Well, we have to have it, I have to go into the office. This is not, let's not talk about the...
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up, just
Yeah,
don't.
no, it's in my...
Good night, guys.
It's on nobody's calendar. Bye, thank you.
Yeah, good night.
It's not on your calendar when the budget public hearings?
I've got my budget on here. Budget is adopted by board after public hearing, Thursday, November 10th,
Thursday, November 10th.
which is the regular board meeting.
Okay.
So it's both board and
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
So why don't you do the public hearing for local law on the 7th, the workshop? We can make that a special meeting,
Okay,
and then we don't have 2 public hearings in one meeting,
okay.
so my arm doesn't fall off.
So November 7th, at 7 o'clock will be the public hearing on local law and the workshop.
So before the workshop, we'll have the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yes, it'll be a special meeting, and then you close the special meeting.
Open the workshop.
Okay,
Yeah, and then do the workshop.
That's fine.
great.
Perfect.
And then
Thank
could
you,
somebody
Jan.
remind me when the budget?
Thank you, Bob.
There's multiple.
No, the public hearing
The 10th
Yeah.
of
November.
The backup
You need to
last date
revote that.
is the
November 10th.
15th.
Anybody have to vote?
Sorry, everybody.
Just to say, I think the 7th is also one of our budget workshop nights.
The 7th of,
November.
I'm going to move on to, so
Oh,
I
can I
make a
have a-
motion,
Yeah.
so to set the public hearing for local law number 2 on
November 7th at 7 PM.
November 7th at 7 PM.
Wendy Burton?
I'm
Whoops.
sorry, go ahead.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Aaron?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes?
Thanks.
Wendy, would you contemplate voting on the law that night or at the regular meeting?
I would like to vote on the law after the public hearing.
No, at the regular.
No, at the regular
Yeah,
meeting.
not
Regular
not at a
meeting.
workshop.
Yeah, not at a workshop.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Margaret speaks for me.
Sorry.
No, that's right. Okay, we're back to our resolutions, 10F, to approve expenditures for fireworks at Community Day. What happened in this was that the fireworks, we collected money from all the various parties that were contributing to the fireworks, and then we paid the bill, and then we were reimbursed, or we accepted the money as donations from all the other institutions that helped pay for the fireworks. So whereas the town board of Stanford hired July Forever Fireworks to provide the fireworks display on Community Day, whereas the town of Stanford funded the project with donations from local community businesses and funds on the celebrations line of the budget, which is the 06755040 line. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board needs to modify the general fund budget to record all expenses associated with the fireworks. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to make the following budget amendments. And
Second.
thank you.
Could I suggest you add from local community businesses and organizations?
Oh, yes. And there was, yes.
Just sparking a thought, Rita Mary, would it be wise to identify the contributions of the other groups so that
It's totally up to you
the
if you
board,
want.
the board amount is clear in the minutes?
Do you mean in the resolution? Or just, the resolution is just dealing with the gifts and donations.
And Frank wants to know if I should put the names of the businesses and organizations into the resolution. Correct?
Yeah, I don't have it with me. I thought the reading was also to approve our payment of the $5,000.
No, no.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that the town didn't have to pay $5,000.
No.
Correct.
Because the other contributions were
It-
significant,
It was
which
about
left a
half.
balance for the town of a very small, much smaller amount.
Right, we paid $25.60 and the gifts amounted to $25.60.
It's just identified there.
In the resolution, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the money transfer.
Who did the second, please?
I did.
Okay, thanks. Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arendt?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes, and
Nathan-
thank you to everyone who contributed.
Yes.
And Frank Guppy?
Yes?
I did say Nathan, right?
Yes.
So-
You said it, but.
But did you read it?
Margaret
Sorry.
got me in there.
This is a lot of resolutions for 1 month. This is to approve expenditures. This is Resolution 10G to approve expenditures for the community garden, whereas the town of Stanford created a community garden with dedicated volunteers from the community, whereas the town of Stanford funded the project with a grant and donations from members of the community. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board needs to modify the general fund budget to record all expenses associated with the community garden. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to make the following budget amendments. We, as the board, paid nothing towards the community garden. We took in $5,000 in donations and grant, and we just are moving that $5,000 into an appropriations line for the community garden. So we have a
Okay.
place to put it.
Second.
Thank you.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arendt?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVirtue?
Yes.
Frank Guppy?
Yes?
And then monthly, we do budget modifications that are line item modifications. So if I'm overspent on stationery but I'm underspent on whatever, we can move money within the general fund from line to line just to keep us kosher in the budget. So this budget resolution, which is 10H, whereas the town of Stanford has expenditures for the adopted general fund and highway fund budget lines that will exceed the amount of fund available in those certain budget lines, and whereas the general and highway funds have funds available in other lines and needs to transfer such funds to provide for expenditures, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Stanford Board hereby amends and transfers from and to budget lines listed below for fiscal year 2022. So we're taking the tax collector equipment, we bought him a new laptop. That was $1,774. We have excess funds in pond salaries, so we're moving that. The special rec contractual expenses for the pond was $3,000. We're moving that from pond salaries. Playground salaries, we are increasing it by $3,000, and we're again taking money from the pond salaries, so the whole thing evens out to transferring $7,845.24. And with the highway, we're moving lines around to the amount of $8,678.96.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes, with a comment that this is a state requirement, and in the past, it has never been done until the end of the year, in which massive flows into some accounts and massive flows out. It's now done on a regular basis, as is required by the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 10I. This is an inter-fund loan to the Stanford Bengal Lighting District. The lighting district is actually a separate district in Stanford. Like there's the library is a district, the fire district is a district, and actually Bengal Lighting District is a separate district. And because of the electricity costs have been so insane, we are anticipating that fund will run out of funds before the end of the year and before taxes come in the next year. So what we do is we can loan from the general fund. We can make a loan to the Bengal district, but they have to pay it back next year. So anyway. So this is Resolution 10I, interfund loan, Stanford Bengal Lighting District. Whereas the 2023 tax revenues were received after the need for timely payment of the electric bill for the, what? Whereas 2023 tax revenues
Revenue from next year.
will be received after the need for
Yes.
timely
Correct.
payment of the electricity bill for the Bengal Lighting District, whereas the Stanfordville Bengal Light District SL Fund has insufficient balances to resolve the electric bill, and the general fund has sufficient funds. Be it resolved that the town board approves the interfund transfer of funds to the amount of $4,375 from the general fund A into the Bengal Lighting District Fund to be returned via transfer to the general fund when the tax levy is received.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Is there any questions? No? Okay. Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Frank Pepe?
Yes.
And finally, almost finally, I would like to make a motion to approve the purchase. We did bids or RFPs for carpet and blind replacements. It seems to have gone on forever. We got bids from, as far as the carpet, we solicited 4 bids and we got 3 back. For the blinds, we solicited 3 companies and we got 2 back. I make a motion to accept the broadloom bid from Bell's, Ethan Allen. This is carpet for the town clerk's office and for the assessor's office, both of which literally are trip hazards because the carpet's so old and there are ridges in it and you can fall. So, and that's true for both of the offices. So I'd like to replace the broadloom in those 2 offices for $91,0920 was the Bell's Ethan Allen bid. I guess we should do this separately. Okay, so I make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. And then the second proposal were blinds for various offices. Do they include these?
Yes.
Right. And the best bid came from Foster's for $6,658.36.
Second.
Thanks to Jane for bringing this project to closure. This was long in developing, boy, it was a hard one. You'd think it'd be easy, but it wasn't. Thank you.
And I thank you too.
Yes.
Big
we're-
time.
Come into your office.
Everybody who comes into your office thanks you, or me, or us. Okay.
All in favor on that second one, right?
Aye.
Thank you.
Margaret, why don't you do this?
Sure. Approval of the minutes from the September 8th regular meeting, the approval of the minutes from the October 3rd special meeting, and approval of the minutes from the September 28th comprehensive plan workshop. I make a motion to approve all of those minutes.
Who said that first?
We all did. Say, take your pick.
Nathan.
Frank did.
Nathan
Frank
did.
did.
Frank
No,
did.
Frank did the minutes, so
Oh, that's
let's
right.
pick somebody
Kevin,
else.
Frank read. Nathan did.
Okay,
Do you want me to
Nathan.
do that first?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the October abstracts number 10 for 2022 from the general fund, $71,798.46. From the highway department, $33,964.03. From the Bengal Lighting District, $946.13. From escrow, $2,480.13. And from DASNY, $68,088.78.
Second?
60,000.
No, it's 68.
No, it's 68.
Oh, is it typo?
Yeah, yeah.
Not mine.
No, it's-
Okay. Oh, I don't have the handwritten note version.
Oh, no, it's right there. I'm showing it to you. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, I'd like to open the meeting.
Question.
Yes,
Procedural question.
yes.
So if we are going to go into executive session, do we do privilege of the floor before or after? Because we're
Before.
gonna-
Before.
Because,
Yeah, you can do either.
yeah, we don't want to
Because
make
we
all
don't want
these
everybody
people
sitting here
wait.
waiting.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
aware, but what I'm getting at is that if we come back out of executive session and we comment, and we'll, to a certain
take
extent,
action?
there could be.
People
folks
don't
that-
have to
People are
leave,
allowed
they
to
can
stay.
come back in.
Right.
They can wait for us to come out of executive session.
I understand, I'm just trying to,
He's saying if they want to comment on anything,
On a-
if we
on-
comment when we come back in.
right.
When we come back in, if we take action, we say what it is, and then if they stay and they want to comment, they can again.
So that's a third privilege of the floor.
Yeah.
Is what we're creating, okay, that's what I was asking.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would like to ask if anybody would like to speak for the second privilege of the floor. Go ahead, Corey.
My name's Corey Clanahan. I live at 477 Hobbs Lane. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for being so receptive to the concerns of not only myself, but everyone on our street and in the town as well. So I'm here representing not only myself, but my wife and my 2 young kids as well. We live on Hobbs Lane. We are right up next to the road. It's a beautiful place. We love Clinton Corners. We've been here for close to 8-9 years now. And as much as I agree with the private citizens' rights on their own properties, totally support that, it is asking a big sacrifice from our community in order for them to be able to do this. And in doing so, I think it is important that they hear our concerns and try to adjust and ameliorate our problems. I appreciate the idea of meeting with the forester and actually walking it and setting eyes on it. I think it gets hard when you talk in abstract of things, but when you actually can set eyes on something and see the difference, it brings it more into the focus as to what's important. And for myself, not only is the view in the area that I live in and the development of such important to me, first and foremost, my kids' safety is important to me. They get on the bus each morning right at the end of our driveway, which is going to be directly across from the access and logging platform. So just for example, we're talking about if I'm standing in my driveway, closer than the American flag over there. So you have to think about my 5-year-old son and my 11-year-old daughter standing out there in the mornings. It is on a blind turn. People cruise through. The Taconic is right there. You can access it from the other side as well. And I just want to ensure that the board and folks in decision-making positions take into account the safety of the people living in the area, as well as the sacrifice that those people are giving in order for this to happen. But with that said, I appreciate the listening ears that you guys have given to us, and I also appreciate the support of my neighbors and the other folks in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Would anybody else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Nancy Kryzak, 458 Hobbs Lane. Thank you to Corey for speaking so well for our concerns on the street. Thank you, Wendy, for meeting with us yesterday. Thank you for responding so positively to the letters that we have written. Can't tell you how much it means to us. I've lived on Hobbs Lane for 36 years. I have voiced these concerns to Wendy and in my letters. It isn't just a matter of approving an application. There needs to be oversight throughout this entire logging process. We're talking about, at least from the first application, 2 years, 6 months in each year, on a daily basis, 5 days a week. We're talking about streams that cross the road, that run like, mini Niagara Falls in the spring. Right now, they're practically non-existent. But they have to be protected so that my neighbor's swimming pool is not swimming in water that can't cross the road, but then goes into their area of their pool, which is the lowest section of their land, which is right below where major logging will go on. I'm concerned that the town does not have in place oversight that will go on throughout each and every day, week, month, and year of this process of logging this 100+ acres. And I'm very concerned that we'll go forward with this without those guidelines, those line items in place on how and when this oversight is going to happen, and is it going to happen by someone or someones who know what they're talking about, who know what should be observed. I'd like to see the DEC involved in this. I don't know to what extent they can or how that happens. I'm just asking you to remember that this is an ongoing process. And for 36 years, I've watched the beauty of this neighborhood in which I live and reside. And so many of us have lived here as long as I have. We don't mind. I know that one person owns over 100 acres and has the right to do with it as she chooses. But it also impacts many, many, many of us who've lived on the street where she does not reside. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Did you think that? Did you think that? I've been very good. Stop that.
I didn't say anything,
I
Carol.
know, but the look on your face. I'm Carol Millen, 422 Hobbs Lane. I just want to add to what my neighbors have said. This is not just the fact that, oops, they're going to be logging on Hobbs Lane and we don't have the things in place that we need to make it safe for us and make it happy for us and make it happy for who's ever doing the logging and she should profit from it. The problem here is one of what's going on with the zoning code, which this particular logging zoning code was written in I believe it's 97. And it has absolutely no meat to it at all. There's nothing in it that says they have to clean up after themselves for one thing. There's no guidelines as to what impact it's going to have on the neighborhood. So what I'm concerned about is that we also at the same time, we're talking about sitting down and negotiating and talking to the owner of the property. At the same time, we also look at what's going on with this zoning code. Because if going through the zoning code and changing it is over here and talking to the woman who owns it and trying to make some agreement is over here, and between those two things happening, we're in the middle. And we have no stance to stop anything from happening because she's in accordance with the law because the law is so bad. So we're concerned that we should, as a group, would ask the board to move forward with either a moratorium or whatever the technical term is to make sure that this process is stopped until we get all of our ducks in a row. Okay? That's my spiel. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Yes, Charles?
I hadn't planned to say anything about this issue, but something Nancy said struck me, and I wanted to clarify that. She had mentioned that a person has a right to do anything they want on their property, and I don't believe that's true. If I had property and I decided to open up a mining project or a gravel project, then I would fall under certain requirements that the town has. And I think this is important that we extend that to trees. Not saying this woman doesn't have the ability to do that, but there ought to be certain guidelines. And lastly, I don't know if the board is aware of the number of projects that are going on. I can count 4 and give you directions in my district, which is voting district number 2. There's also one on Hicks Hill, the very beginning of Hicks Hill, and they've cleared right to the road. And the beginning of Hicks Hill, since I grew up there, I know is Stanford. And so that project is there. It looks very much like the clear to the road one we have on Willowbrook. And everyone says that it's already in existence, so what can we do? I don't know if there's more projects going on. And if you don't, I then say shame on you, because you should know. So, thank you for my time, and I still reside at 422 Hobbs Lane, hopefully, and so I thank you all.
Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else like to speak?
Wendy,
Yes,
if there's no one else,
I'm sorry?
if there's no one else, I would like to speak. Do you want me to speak here, or?
Are you speaking as a member of the public?
I don't understand, Frank.
I would like to address the board as well, sure, as a member of the public and as a board member. I might have mentioned a meeting ago that I was reporting out on the planning board, and they're doing great work to help citizens with their projects. And on this one meeting, one of our former town supervisors was a part of a neighborhood group somewhat like this one, because there was tree clearing associated with a homeowner's development of an additional home on their property. And he spoke very eloquently about the fact that the neighbors on Hobbs had interests in views and protections and protection of waterways as well. Very similar conversation that's going on tonight. Now, fortunately, the designer of that project met all of their expectations. But I bring this up because I think this is a concern across the community, across many of our constituents. And so the gravity of this is not just one group, one area. It's something that can impact many of us. And I think having been at that planning board meeting, it was illustrated to me that all of the residents on Hobbs have had this sort of thing approach them, and we can find ways to ameliorate that. So I applaud Wendy on her efforts to meet with the forester and speak with the owner. There may be other ways we can approach this as well. So thank you.
Okay, so if we're finished with privilege of the floor,
Just when you go to say that, forward back. Can I just say one more thing, just really, because I forgot.
Charlie's
She
saying no.
didn't use all of her time.
Yes,
She-
Carol,
she
you
had-
may. Even though your husband's sitting back there going like this.
But he always does that. When you look at the zoning code, logging is allowed in all.
Carol, you need to be up there.
Take a long walk. If you look at the zoning code, logging is allowed in all 5 of the districts. We have all the residential and rural, whatever it is, the 5 districts are. If you look at the codes, yes, it's true, that all 5 districts allow, with the permit, you have to go get the logging permit. So anywhere in this town, it's not just Hobbs Lane, it's not just our little area. Because the law is so ineffective, everybody could be subject to the same thing we're going through. So that's it.
Thank you, Carol. Now, before anybody else has a chance to say anything, if nobody else has anything they'd like to say, then I would like to adjourn the,
Close the regular meeting.
close the, what?
The regular meeting.
The regular meeting and open.
Go into an executive session.
Yes.
Regarding.
Negotiation for litigation.
Thank you. So if you all want to.
A second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
If you guys want to stick around And then, because we don't know if we're going to take action or not take action on anything that we're discussing, but you're absolutely welcome to stay around, and then we will go back into regular session, and we'll either just adjourn or we'll say we're taking action on X, Y, or Z. So,
Ashes be provided?
No.
what?
He said, well, no, should they?
No nauseous? No. But,
Corey would have brought some, but he just.
so, and thank you very much for coming and sitting here with us. A motion to leave executive session and go back into
Second.
public session. Session.
All in favor?
Aye. And the board took no action.
We sat there for an hour and 20 minutes.
Jamie, I'm sorry.
We sat here for an
I
hour
had
and 20
a
minutes.
whole hypothesis.
So now
I bet you did.
Now it's your turn.
Make a motion to open the public meeting.
No, didn't we just do?
No, we just closed
We
the
closed.
executive.
Okay.
Making a
Second.
motion.
Open the public meeting.
Now
I
we have-
second it.
Now we
I
have-
second.
Now we vote on it, and then we have privilege of the floor.
No, oh, that's right. But
Oh,
then-
you're not
no,
going to take any action
No.
from your executive session,
No, just a lot of talk.
and you're all in favor doing that?
Yes,
And then,
privilege of the
Wait a minute.
floor, right?
Okay.
Based on any actions?
No.
We're
Wait,
not
then I
taking-
make a
No.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second,
Aye.
all? Yep.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches,
Buenas
Jeannie. I'll
noches.
see you
It's
in the
snowing?
morning.